I made this video a long time ago about closing disclosures, about the crazy 3 days closing disclosure. It's 3 days when you're, by the way, refinancing your home. You're trying to lower your interest rate, you're trying to get cash out, and they send you the CD, the closing disclosure. By law, in most states, you're required to receive it 3 days before signing with the notary. That's one of the rules, and we're going to talk about that. My name is Isaac.Duenas. I'm a mortgage loan officer located just outside of Cleveland, Ohio. I work for a company called Nations Lending Corporation. It's a national direct lender, which means that there's no brokers, which means that you deal directly with the loan officer, with the main source. And today, for you only, we are going. Sorry, my third video. I just say it, and I'm tired. Come on. Uh, we're gonna talk about closing disclosures. You know, I think that it's very interesting because we go through the whole long process. You submit all these documents that they ask you, your mortgage statement, your pay stubs, your taxes, your IRS transcripts, your firstborn, your your arm, your legs. You go through all of these crazy things that mortgage companies ask from you, and you're about to close. You're about to finally receive the final approval, and now you receive the closing disclosure. So you get excited, right? You're like, wow, finally, this is great. You sign the closing disclosure very excited, or you're like some people, you want to read line by line. What is this? What is this? And what is this? And you call your mortgage loan officer. What is all these things? Or just don't read it. You get it, and you're like, whatever. It's another document of those freaking crappy documents they send me, and you just don't do anything with it and forget about it. So whatever you do with it, um, here's the reality. I'm gonna say that 70% of the time, that's a great thing. That means that you are about to receive the final approval and close with the notary. So great, good for you. Congratulations, you made it. I Let me know how you spend the money. But I'm gonna say that 30% of the time, the closing disclosure doesn't necessarily mean that you are closing on the loan. Doesn't necessarily mean that you've been finally approved. All it means is this is the most accurate numbers that we have so far. And probably you've noticed, and you will notice that after you receive the final, the initial closing disclosure, that's how they call it, the initial closing disclosure, you probably will notice that you receive updates or an updated closing disclosure because they forgot to adjust the taxes, they forgot to adjust your homeowners insurance, or you maybe the company that you have right now, they decided to pay your taxes yesterday, and you go to a county website, which you can if you want to confirm that, and it says paid. Well, if my previous mortgage company paid for my taxes, why should Nations Lending or the mortgage company I'm working with, why are they collecting 12 months of taxes? It doesn't make any sense. Well, things like that need to be adjusted, especially the closing documents. Otherwise, you're double paying your taxes. I mean, you will get that money back, but I guess you understand my point. You want to make the closing disclosure as accurate as possible. So it's 3 days normally from the moment you sign it. Now you're able to schedule closing with the notary. If, and this is a big if, let's emphasize that. Big if. It's a big if because if you receive the final approval. Normally, like in my situation, when my processors send everything, they call it resubmission. They send everything again to the underwriters because the underwriters will create some conditions for you. Conditions means we will give them the final approval, but I need to see these documents A, B, C, D, whatever they are. And when you have them, you resubmit everything to the underwriters for the final approval. So at that point, if my processors haven't requested the initial closing disclosure, I will request it because we're almost at the end. The last thing I want is for you to sign the closing disclosures and not be ready, and they give us the final approval, say tomorrow. And well, you didn't sign the closing disclosure, so now we cannot close for another 3 days. Does that make sense? So in a way, you want to get that out of the way. That way, if you receive the final approval, you're ready. You're ready to close. You're ready to get it done. You're ready to call the notary, create the appointment, and that kind of stuff. I cannot tell you how many times I've made it all the way to the end, meaning that the borrower has signed the initial closing disclosures. I submitted all the documents. We got the final approval. And from final approval to clear to close, which is two different things, somehow the loan died. So getting the final approval is still not the end. I know some of you are going to be, this is so confusing, Isaac. It's called final approval. And now you're telling me that you can still don't get the mortgage, don't get the refinance, don't buy the home after that? Can they be more clear to me? Yes, and the reality is, to answer to our question, is it is crazy. To me, I feel sometimes that my processors are lazy bums. They don't do their jobs, and the underwriters are keeping the files there sitting for days before they can give me an answer. That's how I feel sometimes. And sometimes that's true because not everybody has work ethics like you and me. But it doesn't necessarily make it true. Like there's so many things that could happen, things that could change, be modified, that you end up not getting the final approval, or you don't like the loan at the end of the process. You're like, you know what? This is just too much. So I don't want to do it anymore. Which you can, by the way. The only signature that truly matters is the signature that you sign with the notary. And even then, you can this if it's a refinance, you most likely have like another 3 days for rescission. Anyway, I hope this helps. I am falling asleep, so I'm gonna stop here. You guys have a good night.